live on YouTube. And it looks like we are live now. So good morning. It is February 4th of 2021. My name is Anthea Dexter Cooper, and I'm Committee Counsel for the Legislative Committee on Administrative Rules. And in lieu of you having elected a chair yet, I am calling this meeting to order. And if you want, you can do introductions, or you can jump right into the first order of business, which would be to elect a chair and a vice chair.
Well, to move the process along, Madam Interim Chair, I will nominate Senator Mark McDonald to serve as chair of LCAR.
Okay.
And although we don't always do this formally, I would second that. Thank you.
So it has been moved and seconded. Are there any other nominations for chair? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of electing Senator Mark McDonald as the chair of LCAR, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand.
Okay. Yep, that looks pretty unanimous to me. So I will now happily yield to Chair McDonald to continue on your meeting.
Thank you. And thank you all. Second item on business is to elect the vice chair. We're now open for nominations. Senator Lyons.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to nominate Representative Trevor Squirrel as to be vice chair.
Okay. Trevor Squirrel's name, representative, has been put in nomination. Are there any other nominations? Senator Bray.
Once again, a little formal. I'd like to second that.
Thank you, Senator Bray. If there are no further nominations, we will proceed with the vote. Hearing none, all those in favor of Senate Representative Trevor Squirrel being vice chair, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, and it shall be so.
Thank you.
So everybody here, I believe, has met Charlene Dindo online, and Thea. We have a few brief items to deal with today on the calendar, and we have 3 new members, which is both a blessing and an opportunity to review our rules. And I was going to ask Anthea if she had prepared some remarks for today, and perhaps later on some offline work with the 3 new members of the committee. Anthea is our legislative counsel, and this is her first meeting, I believe, keeping us on the straight and narrow. Anthea.
Yes, it is my first meeting of this new session. I worked briefly with you last go around on finishing off your amendments to your rules, but I look forward to being with you for the full 2 years.
Do you have a plan or to introduce our new members to rules either at this meeting or at a time this week, or perhaps next Monday, if that's a good time for new members?
Sure. So I sent out an orientation memo. I CC'd all of the returning members.
Yep.
That's an update of the memo that Aaron Adler had prepared, and then Betsy Ann Rask had updated. I have gone overboard on the hyperlink. So if you click on this different steps, it'll take you to the sections of the memo. I can walk through that. I don't know if there were any specific questions. I don't know if it was information overload and our new members still needed some time to process it. So I'll take some guidance as to what the committee's capacity and interest is right now.
For me,
Representative Higley, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, for me, I think I did look over the information you'd sent. It was a little bit of overload, but I don't know as though I need to go over it again right now. I think with the help of the other members along the way, it'll all become relevant.
Senator Benny.
Mr. Chair, before we get too far down the road, we probably ought to introduce ourselves for the benefit of our guests and the members of the public who may be watching on YouTube.
Thank you, Senator Benny. We usually usually the first thing we do. Senator Benning, you may start us off.
Good morning. My name is Joe Benning. I represent the Caledonia County District, which is all of Caledonia County and the 6 northeasternmost towns of Orange County.
Representative Higley.
Thank you, Representative Higley from Lowell, and I represent Lowell, J, Westfield, Troy, and the town of Eden. It's Orleans, Lamoille.
Representative Trevor Squirrel. You're muted.
You'd think I'd know better by now. Representative Trevor Squirrel representing Underhill and Jericho.
Senator Lyons.
Good morning, everyone. Senator Jenny Lyons. I represent Chittenden County, except Buell's Gore and Huntington.
Representative Bongartz.
Seth Baumgartz, I represent Bennington 4, which is comprised of Arlington, Manchester, Sandgate, and most of Sunderland. And I actually was a member of this committee more than 30 years ago. So
Okay.
Okay.
You're emeritus now. What committee do you serve on in the House?
Natural resources.
Thank you. Representative Carroll.
Hi, good morning. I am Carol Odie, and I represent the far new north end of Burlington, Vermont.
And you serve on?
I serve now on House Ways and Means, and for my first 4 years, I was on House Natural Resources, Fish, and Wildlife.
Thank you. Representative John Carroll. You're muted, sir. We will go on to Senator Bray.
Good morning. My name is Chris Bray. I live in Bristol, Vermont, and I represent the Addison Senate District, which is Addison County, Huntington, and Buell's Gore.
Is Representative Carroll online now? If not, Charlene, we know you.
I think he's a witness, Mark.
Oh my.
He used to be a senator, if I'm recognizing him correctly.
Oh my goodness, John. I don't recognize you without your tie.
You caught me off guard there. I'm always eager to speak, but I thought it was unseemly that I should represent myself as a member of your august body.
Okay. Well, we haven't spoken since last year in the State House. It's good to see you this morning. Do we have everybody? My name is Mark McDonald. I represent Orange County. I serve on Finance and Natural Resources with Senator Bray. So if that's it, we will move on to the first item on the agenda, which so I'm trying to bring it up on my iPhone, which was the minutes for the last meeting. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from January 14th.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved that the minutes be approved. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? And the minutes have been approved. First item on the agenda. I understand we have 3 items on the agenda, and each will call for an extension prior to for our consideration at the next LCAR meeting. First,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
I'm just, I don't know what the policy or procedure is going to be for this newest incarnation of LCAR, but I'm just sympathetic to our council who has to record votes. And it's been our habit to vote by voice and hand so that she can collect a count. And I didn't know if we wanted to reestablish that procedure.
Excellent question. Unless there appears to be yes, we've always tried to take the count by number. usually not for minutes and things of that sort, but certainly on bills and extensions and amendments to motions. So we will proceed with that in mind. Thank you, Senator Bray. I am having difficulty with following the agenda on my iPhone. Could you, Anthea, could you tell us the number of the first request we have for an extension?
Sure, it's 20-P11, Board of Education / Special Education Finance and Census-based funding, and it's a request for an extension of the adoption deadline.
And the witness on this one is?
I believe it's Emily Simmons, but I know there might have been a change. I think I printed out my agenda a little early.
Okay. I don't see Emily Simmons on my screen. I see John Carroll, who is chair of the Board of Education. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm standing in for our legal counsel, Emily Simmons.
Okay, well, the floor is yours.
By agreement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is John Carroll. I am chair of the State Board of Education. I'm here to request a 3-month extension to the rulemaking process that the State Board has been involved in directly and indirectly for over 2 years now. This all pertains to the reform of special education, Act 173, which created the entire new concept of census-based funding for education, and also began some significant reforms in the practice of education, the way it's delivered, the way that the local education associations interface with parents and so forth. The Act 173 created a very effective stakeholder advisory group that has met for now nearly 3 years and has done the heavy lifting in framing the revisions to the rules to reflect the intent of statute. The State Board adopted the rules after a lot of deliberation and began the rulemaking process on the 9th of March of last year. Got into the public comment period, but as you'll recall, and you all know better than I, the lockdown of the pandemic just seized up people's abilities to communicate, and especially the parents of special education children. Those children, like all children, were at home, and it just shifted onto those parents an enormous daily burden to try to keep their children moving forward in their education. So that during the comment period, which ran from mid-April to the end of May, none of them were able to get free, even to talk to us on the phone. It was just, they just did not have the bandwidth to do that. And so we appealed to the legislature, the House and Senate Committees on Education, to allow us to extend the public comment period from the normal 5 or 6 weeks that the APA process provides to the end of 2020. And that was approved in Act 112 of last year. And so the public comment period was extended into the end of December. So we picked up the work again in late November and December, started processing massive amounts of terrific public comment. It's been a process that's been very rich and very, very powerful in reshaping the rules. And so we're asking, and yet, of course, that put us all behind, and we're still digging out from and making sense of the public comment. I think we can get the final rule to you by, I'm pretty sure we'll get it to you by June, which would allow the entire rule to go into effect with your blessing in no later than August. The 3-month extension would extend the deadline for completion and implementation of our work to early September. So it would, we would be able to absolutely complete the work on these two bills, these two rules, well within the extended deadline, should you concur with our request.
Thank you. So we have a formal request shared with us to extend the rules for 3 months. Any questions for the witness? If not, do we have a motion? Senator Benning.
I'm going to move that we accept or grant the extension as requested.
It's been moved that we grant the extension as requested. Is there any discussion? Representative Higley.
Do you need a second on that? Is that,
No,
no?
we
Okay.
do not need seconds, and we were being perhaps overly formal previously, earlier in the meeting. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you for asking. Good question. It has been moved that we grant the extension. If there is no discussion, all in favor, raise your hands and say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. And the extension has been granted. Thank you, Mr. Carroll, Senator Carroll, for coming in and sharing that this morning. We look forward to, it will be a hot topic when it comes up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll be back. Thank you so much.
Yep, our pleasure.
Mr. Chair, I have
20P14, VOSHA rules. Submission is from the Department of Labor dealing with submission of injury on OSHA rules request of extension. Do we have someone from the agency here to speak to us?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you for having me today. And let me extend my apology for taking up your time today. I'm here to ask that that you allow us an extension of our adoption deadline. As members of the committee that are coming over from last session remember, LCAR actually provided final adoption or provided adoption of this particular rule.
I don't mean to stop you in your flow, but
I'm sorry.
it would probably be helpful to state your name for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. My name is Dan Whipple, and I'm the VOSHA program manager. I'm a little bit nervous and caught off guard. My phone started ringing just as I came on, so I apologize. But yeah, my name is Dan Whipple, and I'm the VOSHA program manager. So I'm here to ask for an extension of final adoption deadline, and it's based on my human error. When we received the final letter from Charlene from LCAR, we were dealing with a number of end of year issues with federal OSHA and reporting issues. And I went through and I filed the letter, and I forgot to send it to our administrative assistant for final process of final adopted paperwork. And of course, it moved off from my plate and got forgotten until the Secretary of State's office alerted me to it. And then I went back into my communications and found that I actually did not submit that. So we stand ready to file that final adopted immediately. We have the paperwork all done, ready to go. It's just, we just need to be granted that extra few days to be able to do that.
Does the request have a date with it?
Yes, I believe February 9th.
Okay. Are there any questions for the witness? If not, Senator Benning.
I feel like I'm channeling Representative Myers, but I'll move that we grant the extension as requested.
Senator Benning has moved we grant the extension as requested. Is there any discussion? If not, All those in favor, raise their hand and say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. And the extension has been requested. Thank you, Mr. Whipple. You're probably joined on the screen by many people who at one time or another have failed to send a letter in a timely fashion.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, and thank you very much.
The next is a bill with no number yet. Emergency Administration Rules for Remote Hearing for Board of Medical Practice. And do we have a witness? Anthea, Council Dexter Cooper.
Anthea is fine. I actually think that's the rule you're hearing next week. And it's one down. It's 20P15 that's on the agenda for now.
Okay. And we're within the timeline on that one?
Yes.
Okay.
They filed that on January 21st. I believe Charlene just sent it to everyone, and their 45 review ends on March 7th. And that's an emergency rule, so not an issue for an extension.
Now I have, okay, thank you. And I have 20P15, Department of Health Regulations for Lead Control. And that is a request for extension of adoption. Do we have a witness to speak to that? Is that Ms. Livingston?
Hi, Senator. Yes, this is Shayla Livingston with the Vermont Department of Health.
The floor is yours, Ms. Livingston.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me today. So we're here to request a 60-day extension for our lead control rule. We've been through public comment. We have responded to comments internally. We have not posted that yet. And we have worked with the EPA again to make sure that they've had a review. The reason for the delay is our staff are largely deployed to the pandemic work. And in fact, one of the leads on this project runs a lot of the call center work. And so we've just been a little stymied and slower in our process. We apologize for that, but we do ask for an extension, and we are moving forward, and we are excited to file it, and we'll actually hopefully file it within the next couple weeks with you all for the LCAR hearing. And I'm happy to speak more about the rule or answer other questions if there are any.
Are there any questions for the witness? If not, extension has been requested. Do we have a motion?
Come on, Senator.
Okay.
Senator Lyons.
With all due deference to the senator from Caledonia, I move that we accept the extension as requested by the Department of Health.
There's a motion on the floor to grant the extension. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Hearing none opposed, the extension has been granted. I believe that concludes our business for today. And before we move to adjourn, we have 3 new members to the committee. One is not completely new.
Been long enough, it's new.
Yep. I don't want to take the committee's time today, but if new members want to hang around for a minute or two before or what's necessary when we adjourn, if they have questions they might wish to ask in our council, that would be a good time to do it. And if there's some common questions, we can share that with everybody at our next meeting. We have the unique role in the legislature of being a committee that does not pass things, nor do we amend things. We are like school teachers. We check homework to see that it's been properly completed and that the correct questions in the back of the book have been answered. So that is our biggest distinguishing characteristic. I won't take any more time this morning of yours, but look forward to a good year. Senator Benning.
I wasn't going to make a motion to adjourn just yet. I had a question for Anthea, but first I wanted to just point out how not awake most of the folks are on this committee, because Anthea gave us a golden opportunity when she was interim chair and said, all those in favor, raise your hand and say, no, she said, all those in favor, say aye and raise your hand. And I was the only one who said aye and raise your hand. Anthea, I do have a question though. Carol is not on the screen, and when we were developing the Senate rules for Zooming, we had two requirements. One was that you had to see your face. The other was that you had to hear your voice before you actually were able to cast a vote. And I don't know whether or not this committee has a similar responsibility.
So there's nothing in your LCAR rules that you just amended, and nor is there anything in statute, which isn't surprising considering, your statutes don't really contemplate Zoom. You certainly could amend the LCAR rules to require it if you think that that's something that this committee wants to do. I would also say that for purposes of this vote, the ones that happened, you more than cleared the majority that you needed. Maybe it's something that you would want to do for the ones that require a majority of all the members, as opposed to just a majority of those present. And I think that that's something you certainly could put into your rules, much like the Senate did for purposes of dealing with their virtual world.
I regret saying this because I'm on, or was on, joint rules at the time, but I can't remember whether joint rules actually issued any regulation with respect to how one would vote in a joint committee. But I'm not trying to remove Carol's vote. I'm just trying to make sure we're clearing all the hurdles going forward.
Councilor Dexter Cooper, could you double check on that and make that and help answer that question prior to our next meeting? Thank you. Senator Bray.
I was going to say, in honor of Representative Myers, I was going to move that we adjourn.
It has been moved that we stand in adjournment until next week. We adjourn until next week. Representative Higley, did you have a question?
No, it was just more in lines with what Senator Benning was talking about. Is what you're referring to when you can't see someone on screen, something as simple as stating, I certify that I am Representative Higley of Lowell and vote yes? I mean, is that what has happened on the Senate side? Because that's what we do on the House side.
Well, the House, as I recall it, you've got, what's it called? Event something, I can't remember the name of the system that you use when you're Everbridge, thank you. But on the Senate side, we don't have that. So we had a rule that in order for your vote to be recorded, you had to be on the screen and you had to be able to hear your voice. I don't think you guys had any such comparable rule because you had that system put in place.
Okay, thanks.
So I think Councilor Dexter Cooper will help us sort that out by next meeting, and there may be some situation where members of the committee can not be on, they may hit the button and turn themselves on for a vote, but we will await your recommendations. So if there are no further questions, it has been moved that we adjourn. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and raise your hand.
Raise your hand. And all those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, and we're adjourned till next a week from today.